An independent activity schedule is a multi-step schedule to be completed independently to help teach specific skills, structure time, and develop independence. Hello again. Today we're going to be talking about how to implement an independent activity schedule in your SDC. A small disclaimer is that this independent activity schedule that I currently have is the second version that I try in my classroom. The first version that I tried was a little bit too much for my students, and it was a little bit too much for me because myself and my aides, we had to clean up this huge mess every single day, and we just didn't have time for that. So I just revised the independent activity schedule into something that I've seen done in a mod severe classroom, and I used that method, changed it up a little bit, and then I am doing it in my mild to mod classroom. Also, the way that I use it in my classroom is I use it during Language Arts Center. So I have one table with myself. We're doing sight words and zone day. My second table, I have an aide teaching it, and we're doing the general ed curriculum. And then this last table, that is the independent activity schedule. And I need it to be independent because at that time, one of my instructional assistants takes their lunch, and I'm short-handed with classroom staff or support. So at that time, I need my students to be engaging in appropriate behavior, but I still need them to be doing work. So the independent activity schedule is perfect for when you're short-staffed. When my students first come to the center, this is what it looks like. It's clean, all the chairs are pushed in, ready to go. Each area has a specific set of numbers that each student needs to match these activities and conduct them in sequential order. And then you can see I have a pre-MAC principle right here, and it says pretty much first to complete their 3 activities, and then they can access an iPad. These are the cabinets where I store all of my buckets for my independent activity schedule. So I have buckets 1 through 9, and then I have buckets 10 through 18. The first thing that a student is going to do is they're going to see what activities they have to do for the day. Every day they have a different set of numbers. So tomorrow, this is going to be the first time for the week that this student does activities 7 through 9. So they're going to grab their little visual reminder, and they're going to see which cabinet they need to go to. In this case, they're going to go to this cabinet. Next, they're going to open the cabinet up, which I do not keep locked, and they're going to find their first activity. So their first activity is activity 7. So this activity, they just have to solve these touch math equations, and when they're done, they are supposed to erase it. You can see that a student did not do that. And once they're done, or once they grab it, they're going to go to their table, and they're going to do their activity. Once they're done with that activity, they're going to grab it, put it back where it belongs, and then they're going to grab their next activity, which is an alphabet puzzle. So they're going to take this to the table, do the activity. When they're done, they're going to put it back, and then they're going to grab their last activity. Once they're done, they'll put it back, and then once they're done with all of the activities, they can close up their cabinet, they can go back to their table, reset this, and then they can finally go on the iPad. I wanted to share that all of the activities in the buckets are all designed to enhance the students' fine motor skills and or academic skills. So they're not just fun activities that have nothing to do with the curriculum. They're all embedded in the curriculum in some way. I mentioned earlier that this is the second version of an independent activity schedule that I've tried in my classroom. So I'm going to show you the original independent activity center that I implemented in my classroom. It didn't quite work in this setting, but I think that it would work in a gen ed setting. So if you are a gen ed teacher, you might want to try this method. When I used the original version of the independent activity schedule, this is how the table would be set up before the students arrived. Once the students arrived, they would come and they would read the directions. So look for your file, they're in ABC order, complete one page from folders 1, 2, and 3, put the completed work in the basket, put your file back in ABC order, and if you finish, you may go on to a Chromebook. So first thing that I would do is I would find my name. So we're just going to say that this is my folder. I would open my folder up and then I would do the activity in folder 1. It's typically a name trace type of activity. I'm not going to show this one for confidentiality, but you can see that the folders are numbered 1, 2, and 3. Once they're done with folder number 1, they'll go with folder 2. In this one, I have just a simple number trace, skip counting by 2s. Once they're done with that, they'll put the completed work in the folder. They'll do that for step 1 as well, and then they'll go to their final folder, which is folder 3. And on this one, this kiddo just has some addition, touch math worksheets. And then once they're done with that, they'll go ahead and put it in the basket. Once the student is completely done with all of their work in all 3 folders, then they will take their file and they will put it back in the basket in alphabetical order. My students really struggled with that, and that's part of the reason why I discontinued this version of our independent activity schedule. And also, I was just bombarded by so much work to grade, so I just decided to revisit how we were doing the independent activity center. And I found that the tubs were a lot more efficient. The students found the activities to be a little bit more fun. So of course they're more likely to do the activity when they think something's fun. And it was just easier to clean up. It just made perfect sense to me to go ahead and revise the independent activity schedule. But there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that this is able to help you in your classroom. Best of luck.